Alrighty, so this is about my third attempt at making a video on this axe. The first couple times I thought I'd throw in all the specs, handle length, steel type, all that garbage. But you know what? You guys can find that on your own. That's not hard to find. Cold Steel makes that information very, very easy to get. So I'm just going to go over my opinion on it, really, and talk a little bit about the sheath. So this is a Cold Steel Trailhawk. Got it 4 or 5 months ago, maybe. I've been beating on it pretty good. So let's go into the sheath. It's going to be awkward to use. It's my first time using this new, my camera. Not new, but my camera for YouTube stuff. So we'll just see how this goes. So we'll pull this out. Comes out pretty good. There's the hawk. This is a brown leather sheath. Nice little flap on top. You see it's got 2 holes here. Has a hole here and a hole here. Originally it had 2 of these strings, 1 out of each hole, and you just kind of bow tie it together and hold shut like that. Nice little tie on the outside. But it kept snagging on stuff, and it comes loose, and it came open. And not that this is really going to fall out, it's got a fairly deep pouch in there. But it just bothered me. So I just ran the 1 string through both loops, and I just kind of cinched that down like so. And that seems to hold pretty good. It's not a bad sheath. It's better than no sheath, I suppose. And leather, I don't have anything bad to say about leather. It does have a welt. So you're not cutting through your stitching. The one thing bad I would say about it is these flaps here. They go down the shaft or the handle. And when I throw this into my pack, I have an Alice pack that I slide this down the middle, in between the pouches on the outside and the pack itself. These get caught and they fold out, and they're just kind of in the way, in my opinion. It does have a pretty big belt loop attachment here, but again, these flaps come loose and bend pretty easy. It's not super thick leather. It's not thin, but it's not thick enough, in my opinion. Heavy stitching, it looks like. You see stitching there on the back. So all in all, not a bad sheath. Not the best. I think there could be improvements made to this. There are multiple sheath types out there for this hawk. You can get Kydex and all kinds of stuff. You can make your own sheaths. I've seen lots of people do that. So that's just my opinion on this one particular sheath. On to the actual tool. As you can see, it is a Cold Steel Trailhawk. Sorry about this angle, it's kind of weird. But I'm in the garage, and it's kind of the only quiet and decently lit place in the house right now. The handle has a pretty straight grain. I'm not sure if that's catching on the camera. I think it is. As you can see, it's dirty. It's been used. No real major damage here by the head. And I've missed my chops a couple times, and had this whack into a couple green branches and stuff. I used it to trim my uncle's tree. I was delimbing these big branches I'm chopping out of this thing, and it seems to do okay. It's a little bit light for any chopping. You're not going to chop down a tree with this thing, without tremendous effort. You would need a bigger axe for anything like that. But for a lightweight chopping tool that you can carve a new handle for should this break. There are videos on YouTube about how to do that. I'm not going to sit here and carve a new handle for you guys. But you can take this head off. It slides down the handle here and use it, like a blade in itself, and carve yourself a new handle, which is kind of a neat option. Can't do that with a knife, with one of those big fixed blades. When I got it, it was not the best. It was not in a up to my standards, we'll say. The edge was, for lack of a better word, pretty awful. It was not symmetrical. One side was long and the other side was short on the actual grind edge. So I had to go in there with a coarse Lansky stone and get those edges not straight, but equal. We'll call it, yeah, equal. That's the word. And then I went over it with a fine, or a medium, and then a fine stone to get that edge nice and sharp. It's not super sharp anymore. I need to touch that up. I've been using it and just neglected it a little bit. As you can see, I did take out that set screw. It seems like a really dumb thing to do, in my opinion, to put a set screw in a Tomahawk. Tomahawks aren't really supposed to have set screws, you know. If you don't know that's in there, or you don't think to take that out and you try and take that head off, it scratches the crap out of the handle. It's not necessary, in my opinion. And for the price of drilling that steel and throwing in a set screw, they could have put on a, you know, cheapy plastic sheath on there and, you know, gotten away with that. You know, it should have a sheath. It doesn't come with a sheath, and it should. I don't like blades, naked blades like that. So anyways, so I took out the set screw, took the head off, and I had to go in and sand the handle down. It was a little bit big. You know, they press these heads on to get them on there nice and tight and then throw the set screw in. I'm assuming that's how they do it, as tight as it was. So I had to kind of hammer it down evenly down the handle and sand it, and got a little marred up, but I'm not worried about it. This is not a showpiece tool. You know, this is a work tool. It's got a nice hammer on the back of that. You can use that for, well, like I said, a hammer. So that's a nice option. Adds a little bit more weight to the head. It's a little light, like I said before, but usable. You know, you keep that nice and sharp, and you can chop through realistically anything that you would throw at this. You're obviously not going to try and chop down a tree with this. That's ridiculous. But you keep that edge nice and sharp, and you should have no problems. All in all, good tool. Is it worth it for the price? I think I paid, what, $25-30. I could be wrong, but somewhere in there. Yeah, I'd say it's worth it. That's about how much it should be worth with the effort you have to put into getting it as a nice tool to use. It's usable the way it comes, but you're going to be wasting a lot of energy and a lot of time if you just sat down 10-15 minutes and just cleaned it up, got it to the right level of completeness. It didn't feel complete. You know, the fit and finish wasn't great. As you can see, this paint here, the black paint, has held up pretty well. I haven't tried any real splitting with this yet, being that it is a fairly narrow profile blade. It's not thick, you know, it only gets thick right here, and once you hit up here, you know, it's tough. Not necessarily a splitting tool. Can it do it? Sure. But not my preferred splitting tool. I'd rather have an axe, not a tomahawk for splitting. So that's my 2 cents on the Cold Steel Trailhawk. More videos to come. Stay tuned.